One of you guys recently reached out with a question about making new friends in a new city, and I was thinking about this for a very long time just because I've gone through experiences like this myself, and I feel like a lot of you might be too. I think this could be very valuable for a lot of you. So Todd from Denver wrote, "Hey man, I really like what you said in your video about building a social circle. It hit home because I just moved to Dallas from Denver where I've lived my whole life. I don't know a single person here and I've really been struggling to make friends. What would you do in my position?" Well, first off, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for reaching out. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to structure this video into two parts. The first is going to go over where I would go to actually meet people. And the second, I actually think this is the more important and interesting part, is how do you conduct yourself when you are at those events? Because it's very easy for me to just sit here and be like, you can join a dance class. But how do you actually conduct yourself in those environments to make yourself that attractive, magnetic dude that people want? People flock to you, they want to be your friend, and they actually seek it out. That's the important part. That's the part that no one talks about. That will come after. But first we need to talk about, where do you actually go? So where do you go? Well, first of all, dude, you're in a major US city with millions of people. I mean, Dallas is a big city. And the thing about big cities is that a lot of people move into those cities on a yearly basis. A lot of people move out of those cities on a yearly basis. There's tons of turnover and churn. That means there's lots of people on a daily and weekly basis looking to actually make friends, find new relationships and things like that. So it's actually quite easy if you know where to go. And so what I would say is, and look, you kind of know the answer, right? I'm going to talk about the stuff that you've probably thought about: dance classes, martial arts, co-ed sports teams, things like that, right? Improv classes, cooking classes, pottery classes. There's so many different things that you can do. I live in Boston, and here we have longer weekend trips as well. They'll do trips where they'll take people out for a whole day trip to go skiing. Obviously they won't have that in Dallas, but they might have things where they take you out for a hike for an entire weekend day. You can fill your calendar with these sorts of things, especially early on when you don't have a social life of your own. Fill your calendar, honestly, with 4 or 5 of these things on a weekly basis, and find places where you can go where you actually like the crowd. In the early weeks, what I would say is just kind of experiment, right? You're going to go to a place and you're going to find that you don't really like the crowd there, or people maybe aren't that friendly, or it's just not your type of vibe. So cut that off, right? But when you find a place, maybe it's a martial arts class, that you really like the people there, stick to it. And obviously, it goes without saying, but go to things that you're actually interested in. Don't just go to something just because you think you'll meet people. Go to stuff that you're actually interested in, and you're knocking off multiple birds with one stone, right? You're going to practice your martial arts, and you're going to start talking to people. You're going to, get better at hiking, and you're going to start talking to people, or rock climbing, whatever it is. Or you can, I think improv is actually super useful as well. So that's one where you actually start to develop your social skills as well as talking to people. It's actually really powerful. So once you find maybe 3 sort of things that you are at this event and you actually like the crowd, then you have 3 things that you can actually look forward to on a weekly basis. That alone, by the way, is going to really break up the monotony of going home and sitting by yourself every single night. And I know a thing or two about that. When I lived in Seattle, dude, I literally was probably spending 6 nights a week just playing video games in my apartment. I was in a relationship as well, which wasn't really going so well at the time, and that kind of honestly just added to my loneliness. You would think being in a relationship would you would feel less lonely. It made me feel even more lonely because it wasn't the best relationship. And so trust me, dude, that is the thing that you want to avoid. And in the early stages, when you're just moved to a city, if you have 3 nights a week where you have something that you look forward to and you like the people there and you're doing something you enjoy, that's what I would build to. And that brings us on to part 2, which is actually, again, the more important part of the video. We're going to talk about how to actually conduct yourself in these settings. Once you're going to a place where you actually like the crowd and everything, and you're going on a weekly basis, what do you do to actually start breaking down those barriers and making friends, real friends, at this place? The first and most important thing is to improve your communication. I feel like most guys have kind of weak communication. If you want to get a full guide on that, watch my How to Not Be a Nice Guy video. I actually go into a lot of detail about tonality, eye contact, but in this video, I'm just going to keep things super brief. So yeah, strong tonality, eye contact, good posture, firm handshake, follow the basics. Honestly, if you do that, if you do good tonality, eye contact, firm handshake, good posture, you're ahead of 90% of dudes. It's straight up. So that's the first thing, master your communication. The second thing to understand is that you need to play the long game. So look guys, when you are going to one of these events where you're going every single week and you actually like the people and everything, You don't need to go from like being complete strangers with someone to being best friends in one session, because you're gonna see these people on a weekly basis. And so the point is to just slowly develop your relationships with all of these folks on a weekly basis. And ideally, as you're doing it, kind of start to become the leader of the group, right? So week 1, it can literally just be quick introductions. Week 2, you kind of go and reopen all the people that you talk to. One super powerful technique, by the way, is to actually remember their names. Like if someone remembers your name after meeting them once for a week, like a week ago for 30 seconds, a week later, they remember your name from that one 30-second conversation, that is going to like be a powerful thing. That's going to have an impact on you. And one of the easiest hacks that I know for like remembering someone's name is when you introduce yourself, do the name introduction. When you close the conversation, like however long after, just confirm their name with them, right? It's like your name was Todd, right? You just do that again. And I feel like, I don't know what it is, but somehow just reinforcing it after you've already had a conversation, it really does increase the likelihood that you actually remember this person's name. So week 2, you actually go reopen as many people with their names as you can. Obviously you're not gonna get every single one, but at least try, right? And when you do that, first of all, that itself, again, is going to have an impact on people. But more importantly, it sets this familiarity, you know? Like once you are reopening someone that you've talked to a week ago, there's a sense of familiarity there now. And that brings me on to my final point, and this is super important. Most people have a facade on their like face on a daily basis. And when they're talking to people, even people who they kind of know, like they're acquaintances with, they are not being their true authentic self. They kind of have a fake, like very safe, like PC, like I'm not gonna offend anyone, and I'm not even talking about like just political stuff. I'm just talking about like, they don't take social risks. They never tease, they never like, you know, let loose a little bit with their language. They never share their true opinion about anything. And they're doing this because they want to keep themselves safe, right? Like they don't want to be judged by society. But the thing is, when you have that fakeness up with someone, when you're on guard and they're on guard too, it's going to be very, very difficult to connect with them. It's basically impossible. You don't connect with people that you're being fake with and they're being fake with you. And by the way, I'm not saying fake as in like you're lying. Again, I mean fake as in like you have this very, very like polished, reserved, like almost like professional like way of communicating with them when you don't need to be. So I'm not saying necessarily that you need to be like a huge dickhead and like, you know, giving everyone a ton of shit and all of that, but just be more authentic. Treat someone like you would treat your best friend. I think that's the most simple way to do it. When you're talking to your friends who you're super loose with, you're comfortable with, you're giving them shit, they're giving you shit, like, you know how loose you are, you know how you kind of communicate. Try to embody that when you're talking to new people. I'm telling you, dude, people can sense it. And when your vibe is a little bit more relaxed, it's a little bit more low-key, you're having fun, you're being a little bit more playful in the way you talk, you're teasing a little bit here and there, that is going to have an impact on people. It really, really is. It creates this instant sense of familiarity, and it shows them, one, that you have balls and that you're not afraid to not communicate with that politically correct facade that everyone else has, but two, it shows, it has this subconscious sense of familiarity. It feels like you're talking to a friend when you're talking to someone who is speaking to you as if he was talking to your friend. It's very simple, but it's powerful. And so the last tip, have fun, be chill, and don't be afraid to take some small social risks here and there. And if you do those three things, you are going to start getting people to gravitate to you, and you're going to start getting people to open you, and you're going to start being the guy that everyone kind of flocks to. I promise you guys, it's really not that hard. Again, good communication, playing it slow, not being super needy, and within a week of meeting someone, hey, do you guys want to come to my house and get play it cool. And then again, that familiarity. And when you do those three things, you are going to be the guy that everyone wants to talk to at this thing. I promise you are. And once you have that, it's very easy to then suggest, and this could honestly happen within a few weeks of going, you can suggest, hey, a few of us are gonna go out to a bar, after class next week, why don't you come, right? And if you invite 10 people, probably 6 or 7 of them are gonna go, you have fun, you start connecting outside of this thing, and soon enough, it will develop organically. And by the way, again, just set your expectations, right? It's not like you're gonna become best friends with 15 different people at this thing, but you might end up becoming really close with 2 or 3. And then you stack that with the the, if that's like your Monday class, then you have a Wednesday class and a Thursday class as well, all of a sudden you're in business after a few weeks. So again, dude, you have to have hope. You have to, in the early stages of this, it's really just about finding the places that you want to go to, finding the places that you vibe with the people there and that you're enjoying the things that you do. That itself can take a few months. It might take you 3 months to like find 3 or 4 things that you really, really consistently like to do. And that's fine. But once you do find that, this is kind of how I would conduct myself. And I think it's super powerful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.